Welcome into I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. Florida wins the national championship, folks, in a crazy game. We got to break down a bunch of different angles here. So if you're listening, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening in podcast form, you probably watched the game. So we're not going to go game by game or minute by minute and break this thing down. We are going to talk about the ending. We are going to talk about if this Final Four lived up to the hype. We're going to talk about if Houston, if they're ever going to get back to that point, if they're ever going to win one, because this was a kick to the balls, and then what this means for Florida, Todd Golden, all that, because it's kind of similar to what happened in the mid-2000s. And then, of course, I'm going to go on a rant about Duke, just a complete collapse, complete disgrace. But I'll get into that at the end here, Tyson. You were right. You said when we did our preview, you had Walter Clayton Jr. You envisioned it cutting down the nets. Now, I thought it was going to be my guys. They didn't get there. What did you think about this national championship? What do you think about their run and just how they closed the season in general?
Well, how they closed the season in general, it was crazy. It was this they were trailing for over 44 minutes before the Final Four. And then they trailed like the entirety of the national championship game, and they trailed for the majority of the game against Auburn. This is destiny and all that stuff gets thrown out a lot, but like 9 points over and over again in this tournament, 12 points in the national championship. And look, it wasn't – Walter Clayton made a ton of shots against UConn. He made a ton of shots against Auburn. This one was a little different. It wasn't necessarily the shot making of Florida that propelled them. It was more, things got tight and they were able to rise above. Houston made some. We'll talk about the final minute because we'll talk about the final possession. But what's getting lost in that is they didn't get a shot up in 3 possessions with under a minute. I mean, that's where you lose the game. But this run from Florida, dude, they were 9-1 against AP top 10 teams this season. Like this was a really good season from a group of guys that before the season it was like, yeah, Florida's cute. The backcourt's really good. The front court could be good, and it doesn't feel like UConn or 2018 Villanova or something where it was like that was far and away the best team all season long. But I think you've rolled the ball out in this tournament. I know you're going to hate to hear this, but I think the Florida Gators win it more times than they don't.
I mean, potentially. I mean, look, they were really good in the SEC, and people have been dubbing that the best conference we've ever had, right? And so you can't take anything away from it there. And then to put a punctuation mark on it, then they just ran roughshod through the SEC tournament. So it was like, okay, Auburn, you guys got hot early, but we got hot at the right time. And then they won the SEC championship. Everybody's talking about, well, is that sustainable? Maybe they peaked. That's what I was saying because it looked like it. Like they were in real danger against UConn. They didn't have any danger against Maryland, but Texas Tech should have won that game. Let's be honest there.
Mm-hmm.
And Auburn. I just kind of back and forth. Auburn's up big. Florida made it tight, and then Auburn kind of ran out of gas. That's how I viewed it. And then this game, there is no reason why they should have won this game. Houston completely pooped down their leg. The offense, which is always the concern about Houston, reared its ugly head. I mean, the shot taking was questionable at best, and then the making was non-existent. It was pretty eye-opening, and just how they even got to that point. So I think those are the things we talk about here. But if we want to just say, what do you think of Florida in their season overall? To do what they did in the SEC, to win the SEC championship, and then, like you said, to have the comebacks in this. That's because we talk about, what can teams kind of be branded as or remembered as? These are like the comeback kings. You know what I mean? Like we talk about the UConn team with Kimba, the cardiac Kimba teams and how they do it, and the Shabazz Napier, the little guy that keeps on going. And we remember those teams. This Florida team is going to be remembered for their comebacks, and you can't take that away from them. You can't take that away from the coach, Todd Golden, what he was able to do at halftime in these adjustments. We'll get into more of him and a more centric angle on him later. But, you got to tap your cap to Florida. They were incredible when it mattered most in March.
Yeah, it was impressive stuff. It was – yeah, that was an excellent tournament. I know – we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the Final Four and everything.
So let's talk about the last part about this before we get into the entirety of the Final Four. There's some people online, and we kind of talked about it before. We think, does it suck that when you kind of jump up and you haven't dribbled yet, that's a travel? Yeah, but that's the rule. I mean, anybody's like, well, no, it's a travel. Like it's a basis of it. Or it's a basic rule. I mean, it was the most blatant travel you could have. That's the second time it's happened to Florida, by the way. Chad Baker-Mazara had the same thing in the Auburn game. But I think, Tyson, we'll talk about this a little bit more when we dive into Houston. But the fact that was the decision-making by that Houston staff, you're trailing by 2. You don't need a 3. Like the addiction that this sport has where you have to go for a 3. Go to the freaking cup, make a
rim.
layup, and tie the game, and do it quickly. Because if you miss it, you can foul. Why you're going for the 3, 2, 1 buzzer beater fadeaway, jump into the stands? I'm going to be the hero is beyond me. Go to the basket, draw a foul, get a lip, extend this game. These are college kids on the other end. You're going to tell me that they're not going to miss free throws? It's just mind-boggling to me. And so, of course, because that wasn't the mindset, it was like, we're just going to hold on to the last possession. You get no shot off. I mean, there's missed assignments. I think there was supposed to be an elevator play to Cryer. The bigs didn't crash onto the guys trailing them. And then you're left with that mess, and you didn't get a look to win a national championship, Tyson. It was a complete mess. But that's the problem that we're in with college basketball now, where they're not thinking about extending the game. It's like, oh, God, I'm just going to hit a three. It's like, these guys aren't in the NBA. They're not hitting 40%.
I know. Yeah, and after the game, Charles Barkley was like, you got to give Kelvin his flowers. Like, this is, he's going for the win. He recognized his team was tired. And I'm looking around like, Chuck, I don't know if you've been paying attention to college basketball. These dudes are freaks. This is the most well-conditioned team in the country. Like, if Houston can't play 5 more minutes, we have a problem. That was the oldest I felt in a long time. I felt like Mike Lupica watching that. I was like, you're waiting until 6 seconds to get a shot up here to end the game. You're offensive rebound monsters, right? Like, get something to the rim, or at least like get the ball up there and give yourselves a chance. How did they come back against Duke, right? It was like, we're just chucking this thing up here and we're going to get the ball and we're going to dunk it. And it was like that disappeared against Florida. The possession they had before that on the turnover, dribbling basically into a triple team with no way out. Like, best case scenario, you throw it to the Florida guy covering your guy in the corner there. The ball goes out of bounds. Florida gets the ball back and takes the lead. It's like, what is Houston doing? And then before that, they don't get a shot off either. Another turnover. Like, we're gonna put a lot on the last possession because it's unfortunate to watch a national championship game and it comes down to a big crashing on the floor to secure a loose ball. It was like so anticlimactic. What I will say is, like, man, to be 21 years old in that moment and have the presence of mind to like know that, hey, I'm about to turn this ball over if I grab it again, was impressive. And there's a lot of people online that are, he should have just grabbed it and then they could have played the foul game. And it's like, well, you be 21 years old with 3 seconds left in the national championship and tell me what you're doing. But there's a lot of, should have done this, should have done that. Shouldn't have let Cryer get blitzed on the first one. And honestly, if I'm LJ Cryer, I'm 25 years old. I already won one of these things. I'm shooting it. It's going up. I got 7 seconds left on this clock. You got 3 guys out here on the perimeter. There's obviously plays should have been better. Some of the actions and things, like, dude, we make a lot of fun about John Calipari, and Calvin's always been like the roll it out on offense. We don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to play defense, and they had excellent out of bounds plays and all of that stuff. But like when it came to nut cut in time, they didn't have any They didn't have the same thing, and Duke lost, but at the end of games, Duke had like 3 go-to plays. They were just going to run, and this is what we're going to do. And Houston didn't have that, and that came back to bite them. But I can't get up. Dude, you're monsters. Put something – I don't care where it goes. Shoot the ball.
Well, and that was the problem, too, because when they got the big lead, the double-digit lead, and that's when Houston – Tyson, they let it back in the game because the offense was so poor. Like, you got to be able to at least hit some baskets. They're chucking threes. I know that's been their MO, but you were getting to the rim. Like, you were scoring. You're at least putting pressure on them, and you're in double bonus. That's the other thing, too. These refs are calling everything in the second half. The lack of it was just crazy to me.
We start the second half. Florida gets 5 fouls in 2 minutes and 29 seconds or something. And it's like, oh, wow, Houston's going to walk away with this. They're already in the bonus. And then Florida doesn't get called for a foul for a while. And then Houston gets 4 in 9 seconds or 3 in 9 seconds. It's like, swallow the whistle. And then you don't call the goaltending. That didn't matter, did it?
Well, I know. It's just, once again, the officiating, and I'll get into that in here in a little bit to close the show. But it's just crazy. Like, how are you calling it like it's a street fight in the first half, and then you can't let these guys touch each other? Like everybody's sick or something. Like, it was nuts. I just didn't understand that. But listen, all that being said, Tyson, I don't know if you have a closing thought on that, because I do want to move into the Final Four in general, because there's a lot of conversation around this thing.
I mean, Florida's defense was pretty good in the game too, and that's going to get lost in this whole thing because it's about Houston not getting the ball up and some of this other stuff. But like, Florida defense got better all year long, and it was there when they needed it.
So We talked about, and you mentioned it, like it's a little anticlimactic with the big jumping on the ball, and that's how the game ended. That was kind of the storyline online, which online's fake. Like what actually real people think. I think people were entertained by this because there was a lot of pressure on the Final Four coming into this thing, right? Because everybody's talking about, oh, there's no Cinderellas, and it's all the higher seeds. Of course, it's the 4-1s, and we're like, yeah, but like, do you not understand like what we're getting here now? We're getting like probably 3 of the best games we had all year. And I thought that was the case, right? Like Auburn, Florida started out like shot out of a cannon in the first Final Four game. It was like, whoa, this pace is sick. And they're getting up and down. They're hitting shots. They're running good action. They're still playing defense, but they're just getting the ball up. They're going. And that was like, wow. And that ending was awesome. You had Florida making the comeback, completing it. And it's like, okay, we got a really good team in the final and just like how we wanted. And Duke Houston was a street fight early. And then Duke went away, and it looked like they were going to run and hide. And then you had the last craziness of the final 3 minutes, and that was really like a defining moment of this tournament. And then you had the championship game. So I think fully, yes, the Final Four lived up to the hype. This is one of the best Final Fours we've ever seen. This is one of the best Final Fours we've ever had, and I think it was punctuated by the championship game because that's what a lot of people are going to remember. And while it's not the Chris Jenkins hitting the shot at the end of the buzzer, that probably would have stamped it, but this was still an incredible game and 3 incredible games. So I think if you're like, okay, this tournament needed the Final Four to deliver, it absolutely did. So yeah, these 3 games were incredible.
Yeah, I feel a little vindicated, validation, all that stuff. It was awesome. I mean, I'm not partial to any of these teams that were left. Like I picked Florida before the tournament. That didn't mean I was sitting there, chomping with the hands. I didn't care who won these games. I just wanted to see good basketball. And they were great. I feel like the only thing that really kept it from living up to expectations is the wrong term, but like Janai Broome wasn't good against Florida, and that sucked. That was like, especially when we go to the other game and it's like, okay, Cryer's chucking everything up at the rim. Flag is awesome. Walter Clayton Jr. has 38 points, and it's like we just needed the one other, the second best player in college basketball. Like the fact he finished with 15 was a bit crazy after the way that game started. So that would be like my one complaint. But it had everything. I mean, Todd Golden is we'll talk about him too, but like solidified himself a little bit here amongst the best. I mean, he coached the pants off Bruce Pearl in that game, and we got a March Madness with a little Bruce Pearl, crapping down his leg, so that's never a bad thing. And then the other side, it was that Duke Houston game was absolutely excellent. I mean, I was at a house party and we were watching it, and it was, I'm sitting on the couch watching the game, and then all of a sudden by the end, the couch is full and everybody's quiet. That's the kind of feeling it created. So I thought it lived up to the hype.
Let's put the book or turn the page on here. Let's dive into a little bit more with Houston. We've been teasing it a little bit. The sentiment really, I think, around this program right now, nationally, online, and I think probably internally, Tyson, if you can't win with this group, if you didn't win this one with this lead in this situation, are you ever going to do it? And I don't want to be hyperbolic. We're not hyperbolic on the show. It is really hard to win a national championship. It's been really hard for Houston to win a national championship. We're talking about a new era of college basketball, NIL, transfer portal, rev share. That's going to change everything. And yes, Kelvin Sampson's a really good coach, Tyson. He's also 69 years old. How much longer does he want to coach? This is an older group of guys. We're losing the COVID thing. I think if you were asking me right now, here's a lot of money, you got to pick yes or no. It's got to be no. I don't think they'll ever win one, and this was their opportunity. They squandered it.
Yeah, it's impossible to say never because, like, in 100, like when we're long dead, and Kelvin Sampson the fourth has this thing rolling, and Houston's won 5 in a row. They're gonna dig this up. We're gonna look stupid. But no, like this version of Houston, this Kelvin Sampson program that he's built literally like by himself. I mean, the videos are going viral of him offering free tickets to students to go to games when he first gets there. Now they're playing in the national championship. They're in the Final Four a couple years ago, and that one felt different when they lost a couple years ago in the Final Four. It was like, well, they'll get back, and then Cryer gets hurt the next season. And it's like, oh man, but Houston's got a ton of really good guys coming back. Now it's like all these guys are gone. Everybody's gone. How are you going to get these psychos that want to, do the Houston basketball thing in the transfer portal era anyway? So for a program that couldn't win with Hakeem and Clyde and some of those guys, like, we don't throw around the curse word, but Dude, you're up 12. You're up 12
Yeah.
and you're running them out the gym.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because you're right. So I think Houston if we talk about the program, maybe they can, like you said, 50 years, 25 years. This current version of Houston under Kelvin Sampson, I don't think so. Like I don't think that's a possibility. I mean, sure, maybe next year they go up and they load up in the transfer portal, and you're looking, it's like, oh, okay, they can run it back. But Arizona's now in the Big 12, and they're no longer in the Pac-12. They're getting better. They're starting to recruit at a higher level that you need. Tyson, we expect at some point Kansas will probably return to form. You know what I mean? Texas Tech is there. They got a really good head coach. They got guys who want to play. They got a ton of boosters, a lot of money for NIL, and they're taking sports very seriously. And so if you just go through the Big 12, and they're going to get in the tournament, but are they going to get beaten up? Is it not going to be the same thing? Like one turned ankle, and then again, you have to win 8 games.
Yes.
Right? Like that's the thing. You got to win 8 games in 3 weekends. And it's really, really hard to do. And if you can't do it here when you're up 12, it's just like, when is it ever going to happen? And I think that's the tough thing. I think that's what, if we're talking about the missed opportunities here for Kelvin Sampson, it's not the one from the other time. It's not the one with Jamal Shedd rolled his ankle. This is the one that you're going to circle if you never get it done. And he's a Hall of Fame coach, Tyson. The one thing that's missing is the championship. And I don't know if he's ever going to get it.
He's got Frontier League titles.
That's true. Shout out Montana Tech. That is true. So let's close here before I get into my rant to close on Duke, Tyson. You know, this is very eerily similar to a lot of different things that we're discussing, because we talk about the Phi Slama Jama team. You know who beat them is Jimmy Valvano. And he's the youngest. I think, Golden's the youngest coach since Valvano to win the tournament. And so that was also beating Houston. So you know what I mean? The Golden, and then you got the Billy Donovan, who was 40 when he won in 2006. Golden's 39, and it's just like, is this the new era for Florida? People are concerned, like maybe he goes somewhere else. Like let's just throw it out there. It's not, because Hubert Davis signed an extension. What if North Carolina opens? What if Kansas opens? What if Mark Pope, they decide, well, we don't like him after a few years, and Golden's sitting there? How about the NBA? Is that something he's interested in, follow in the footsteps of Donovan? So what does this mean for Todd Golden as a coach, and then kind of the kind of tying that into Florida? Can they retain somebody unlike what happened with Billy?
Well, what it means for him as a coach, I think, again, like I said a little earlier, dude, he was awesome in game this whole tournament. Like, you don't come back down 9 multiple times, down 12 in the national championship unless you can coach a little bit. And I think that that might end up getting lost. And like Walter Clayton just turns around and hits a 3 over 3 people. This is crazy, but the team seemed to love him. Right? They didn't lose the bench when there's 17 minutes left in the second half, and assistant coaches are getting technical fouls. Like, how many times have we seen that college basketball or the NBA, where it's just like, oh, this is wrapped. Like, it's too emotional. They're not going to be able. And he was able to rally the troops. And also, like I said it to you before the show, but I read today they're the first national champion in like 30 years or something to not have a top 100 recruit, and it's very different now in the transfer portal, but he was able to identify the guys and get them on campus that could win a national championship. And if this is where college basketball is going, that's a pretty good sign. And I think it opens up whatever door he chooses to walk through, whether it's Florida, the NBA, or a different program. But the other part, Brad, how many more elite programs are there going to be that open up than Florida? Like, we don't talk about Florida this way, but he has access to whatever he wants. He just won a national championship. He's in the best conference in college basketball right now. And like, there's a lineage of winning there that like he can point to and be like, we won in like, we went to the Final Four in 2000. We won in 06 and 07. We went to the Final Four in 14. We won the championship in 2025. There's not many other schools that can say that. John Shire is not going anywhere at Duke. Like you just mentioned, Hubert signed the extension at North Carolina, and the list is really small. So I think that like if he wants, he might have just bought himself a decade, at Florida to really bide his time and figure out what he wants to do. And by that time, he'll be 48, which is younger than everybody else coaching.
Yeah, no, he definitely bought himself a decade. Like, honestly, Tyson, I think after the Billy Donovan thing, they're scarred.
Oh, no doubt. You
know what I mean? So I think he has a lifetime deal after winning this championship. I mean, unless something goes terribly wrong, and I don't want to bring anything, but there's allegations earlier. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. We're not going to dive into that here. He was, cleared of all wrongdoing, so we should point that out too. But things happen, right? I mean, how many times have we heard, "Oh, squeaky clean from everybody, and all of a sudden something comes out. So, I'm not saying, okay, he'll be there forever because, we have no idea. But if everything's up on the up and up, everything goes well, that he continues to perform, he's going to be there for as long as he wants to be there. I'll put it that way. And I agree with you. As far as the Florida thing goes, Tyson, I think why potentially he may look to leave. Like, okay, well, why is there a better job? But this is an elite job. They have the lineage. It's always going to be second fiddle to the football program.
Yeah, that's no doubt.
And as we're talking about rev share, schools have to decide to allocate money to their programs. Florida basketball is not going to be number one. And it shouldn't be, right? Florida football is going to be number one there. I mean, there's more interest to make more money. That's just the way it goes. Villanova has its own basketball program. We saw Kevin Willard just leave Maryland, who's basketball crazy for Villanova. It's just more of a commitment to basketball. And if you're a basketball coach, Tyson, that's what you want. You're like, hey, I'm the show in town. I want you to back me instead of just the football team. Now, Florida's trying to do things on the football field and basketball like they used to do. And so can they keep the money and keep them? I'm sure they can. I'm sure they will, because they don't want to have their basketball program going to, be obsolete like it was after Billy Donovan left. And so I'm that's a roundabout way of saying Todd Golden has now bought himself a ticket to do whatever he wants with this performance. If he wants to go to the NBA, he's going to get hired by some team in the NBA. If he wants to stay at Florida for life,
the Nuggets,
he can stay. Maybe the Nuggets. And if he's waiting and he has a dream job in mind, what happens if old Darian DeVries doesn't work out at Indiana? Maybe he loves Indiana. I don't know. Some of these other programs, Michigan State, like, is that something he'd step into? I'm just throwing things out there as far as like what's number one, what he would want to do, because he can do anything. Tyson, he's going to be the number one on every single coaching list for the rest of probably his life, to be completely honest, when it comes to college basketball.
Well, it is not like Golden's a St. Mary's guy, right? So you don't have to worry about losing him to his alma mater. I mean, who knows with new college basketball? Maybe St. Mary's gets it rolling, dude, and they're worth $1 billion or whatever. But and then when he played professionally, he played overseas in Israel. So it's a little different than Billy Donovan, at least, where it's okay, he's got ties to Kentucky, he coached there, he was at Providence, that's scary. He played in the all this stuff where his connection list might be a little longer.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, Tyson, everybody's kind of wondering, I'm sure, I got to get into this Duke thing here. And I've had some time to think.
Oh,
and I'm curious. I want to know your reaction to this, because maybe I'm going to be hyperbolic. Maybe I might be measured here. So I want to hear your thoughts at the end. But when this first happened, this gave me shades of that 2018 result with the Banchero team, Tyson, because it's like, if you can't win, or I'm not 2018, excuse me, 2022. 2018 was the Zion Williamson team, in which all of them kind of give me nightmares here, because if you can't win with those teams, what the hell is going on here? So I'm first and foremost, I'm fully convinced that Duke, after the 2015 championship, is cursed, because you look at all the talent that's come through. People are like, in the past decade, how many 5-stars has Duke had? How many NBA players has Duke had? And they haven't even been to a title game. If you can't go with Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish, if you can't get there with Banchero and that team, and if you can't get there with this team, who was freaking second rated in KenPom since 1996, how the hell are you ever going to win a championship? And that's the question that Duke fans should be sitting there and thinking about right now. What is going wrong with this program that you can't get to a title game with the best talent? And it's not even an argument. The best players in the country go to Duke year over year. They have the best recruiting classes. They put the most players in the NBA. They dwarf what Kentucky was doing even in their prime. This Duke, for the last decade, is dominating recruiting. They have the best players. All the players are going to the NBA virtually who are successful. So then I'm sitting back there, Tyson, and I'm wondering, what is it? Because it used to be we could point to, well, maybe they're a little soft. For the while, it was a one and done. Well, they're so young that they can't compete with these older guys. Well, this was a mix between older guys and younger guys. So what's going on here? Then I come back to, it's just really hard. It's just really hard to win a championship. And I think we saw the UConn thing 2 years in a row, and I really think it broke right for them in the first one. And then the second one, they were just so dominant. They ran a ton of the guys back, and they were so good. But how many times have we really seen back-to-back? It's so rare. We haven't seen it a lot. And so I think with the UConn thing kind of spoiled our perception of what should be done in college basketball. Now, that's not to say Duke shouldn't be winning championships, shouldn't be going to the title, shouldn't be going to the Final Four, especially with this talent. But it just reminds just how hard it is. And that's why, Tyson, That loss was the worst loss in the program history. And people are saying, is that hyperbolic? I don't think so, because here's why. Not only were you up on Houston and should have won that game, and it's one of the worst choke jobs in the history of the NCAA tournament. And that's going to be remembered because people hate Duke. It's going to be brought up. It's going to be played forever what happened there. But you can't tell me, and you'll push back on this. After watching that championship game, there's not a doubt in my mind Duke wouldn't have won that game by 20. Houston played terribly and they scored 60 points. Duke would have scored 100 points on the Florida team. It was just what I was watching. I'm like, okay, yeah. So basically, that was driving me crazy when I was watching that game. So Duke, again, I think in 2022, they would have destroyed that Kansas team. So that's 2 championships that should be freaking hanging up in Cameron Indoor Stadium that aren't because of incompetence, just bad luck, late game terribleness. I don't all of the above. And that's why it broke my fandom, Tyson. My fandom forever is broken. I don't hate Duke. I love Duke. I always love and support Duke. But that broke me to the point where when I'm texting you, I'm saying, dude, this Duke team, I think this is the one. I will no longer ever do that for as long as I live, because I have to now see them lift the trophy for me to actually think they can do it. And it's been the past decade of incompetence, Tyson, ever since they cut down the nets in 2015 with the teams. And I went through it because I was kind of rack my brain around what the hell has been going on. All the players, all the times they've come up short, all the bad luck they've had. The OT loss with Grayson Allen against Kansas in the Elite Eight. Should have been in the Final Four. Probably could have won that one. How about the Zion Williamson? Just an absurd loss to Michigan State in the Elite Eight. And then, of course, the Banchero in this one. So fandom, Tyson, is completely changed for me. You will not get a text from me anymore that's saying, I think this is the team. Not until they're holding up the trophy. Not until the buzzer hits 0. Because I can't even celebrate when they're up by freaking 20 or 15 because they did that against Houston. So it's completely over for me, Tyson. I got to reassess exactly what's going on here. So am I being too hyperbolic with that or what?
Sorry, I have to put this calendar reminder in my phone for February for next year that just says on April 8th, 2025, Brad's fandom was broken. We're going to set that for all day. Perfect. So are you being hyperbolic? I think that loss sucked. I don't know where it ranks on the all-time ones, but I've never seen that. I've never seen a team fail to inbound the basketball. A triple tap steal and do a dunk. What are we doing? I've never seen a 7'2" human being go out there and get 0 rebounds like Mile Watch did. I've never seen a shooter like Tyrese Proctor miss the front end of one. First of all, pass the ball to Kahn. Get the ball to Kahn. That's the guy that needs to be at the line. That's on John Shire. That's on Tyrese Proctor. And then him going and missing shots. And you made the joke that he used up all of his bullets early in the tournament. That's what you do. You make shots. That's why you're out here. You're too big, and and look, that's the same way that his season's ended a couple times. But on the talent thing and on it being really hard, it is really hard to win a national championship in any sport. But when you have 32 5-star recruits that come through Duke, and you have better teams year over year than everybody else in the country, it's not supposed to be as hard for you. And that's where the UConn thing, them winning 2 in a row, sure, it ruined our perception. Every year Duke should be a favorite to make the Final Four, the Elite Eight, with the talent that they have. And next year's going to be no different. Those Booster twins get the door, and it's going to be this team should walk to the Elite Eight. And then we know anything can happen. And it's not like these Duke teams are going out there, and it happens when you make every single NCAA tournament, but they're not losing to your Oaklands year over year. They're losing to good teams. This one sucked, I think. For me the most, I'm not a Duke fan, but this is where I can understand where you're coming from. Before the tournament, we all knew, everyone in the country knew that should be the number 1 overall seed. They give it to Auburn, everyone's like, okay, it doesn't matter, whatever, Duke's going to go be able to play at home or close to fans. It's going to be fine. They're going to walk to the Final Four. And then the way they did it was how everybody expected them to do it. And it was, this Duke team is they're minus 250 to win the national championship. It's 3 other 1 seeds, best teams in the country. And then it's already eyes to next year. What if Duke can get some of these guys to come back? what if this is going to happen? This is the worst choke job I can remember. I don't remember one with this level of talent on the court, almost collectively forgetting how to play basketball. And if Cooper Flagg makes that jump shot, which I believe he makes 51% of the time. And then that scenario, like it's just a luck of the draw thing, and Duke lost on that. But dude, they lost the game before he missed that jump shot. Like they got punked.
So yeah, let's look forward here because, and I want to close this off because this isn't necessarily a Duke podcast, but and Tyson's talking about not being a Duke fan, but I talk about it all the time, so I think he kind of at least has a feel for the feelings of what's going on in Duke fandom nation here. And you're right, it did move on quickly to okay, let's talk about next year. And that's the problem.
That's the problem, dude.
That's the issue here. It's not, well, what other recruits can we get? How about we win with the talent that they have in place right now? And, of course, the fans can't help that, right? No. Like, I'm not saying, like, okay, but if we're all pissed and pouting, then that means they'll win next time. It's like, no. But the problem is it's like, well, okay, well, now they'll do it next year.
But that's why people hate them.
It's super hard.
That's what I'm saying. It's like and I think John Shire is going to catch a ton of hate for this, and sure, I think he needs to look in the mirror. I think there was some things that were not great from him to end that game against Houston. Part of it too is like execution was poor because some of the guys weren't executing, and so it's hard to blame Shire for everything. But like the reason people hate Duke, like the whole thing before this one was like, well, Cooper Flagg's the most likable guy that they've had that's been a superstar. But then it's just the melancholy from the fans of like, I can't believe we've done this. Well, if we could get Evans to come back and then we get these other guys in here, then we can have a real shot for next year. And it's like, you don't get to do that. No other fan base in the country gets to do what you're doing right now. It just pisses me off.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it then, Tyson, because everybody's talking about because it's the big three. Are they going to come back or not? Could Cooper potentially come back? I think it's like a 0.5%, if that. Like, I don't think there's any way. But he would still go number one next year, I think, even over the AJ. But we'll see. I mean, right now he's a clear cut number one. I mean, that'd be an insane class. But I mean, Tyson, sometimes those losses when you're already like, man, I love Duke, it kind of pushes you to maybe to come back, and they love John Shire. But I think he's gone. Con Knipple, and we were texting about this. If this was actually like what college basketball should be, Con Knipple comes back for another year of basketball, another year of college basketball.
He's going to go like top 10 though,
Right. He would go top 10 if he came back, potentially top 5. And that's the thing we're talking about here. It's like, yeah, but you can go now. It's like, yeah, but if you come back, you're going to solidify yourself. Potentially you'd be a top 5 pick, which is actually what you want to do, make money and all that good stuff. I think he's probably gone after this. Come on, now watch. That guy should be back in college.
Yeah, he has
Like you have to, like that. He should be back, but he's not going to be. Like that's the problem. Like he's going to enter his name into the NBA. He's going to probably be a G leaguer for a few years because his body isn't ready. And instead of doing it on the campus at Duke, where you're going to be coddled, where you're going to be pushed in a college setting by a coach who recruited you there with a group of guys who are going to push you to be the best, you're going to do it in the setting where everybody's out for themselves in the G League, Tyson. How many times have we seen that? Oh, I'm going to do this, that. NIL should be pushing these kids to come back. I'm not sure if it's going to happen with Come On Now Watch. Now, transfer portal stuff, I'm not quite sure where they go because Isaiah Evans, is he going to go to the NBA? He's going to come back. He should be back. I think Tyrese Proctor, he's the rare one that I'd say go to the NBA, start your professional journey. And I don't say that a whole lot, but I think besides not scoring late and ending terribly the past 2 years for Duke, he's kind of done what you can. And I think he would take his game to the next level by playing in a professional setting. Everybody else, Darren Harris said he's going to come back next year. We'll see. Money talks in the portal. We'll kind of see what happens with that. Isaiah Evans, I don't think he's going to go anywhere besides the NBA, but we'll see, Tyson. They got a good class coming in, but it's the same thing every time. You need grown-ups to help with the young guys. And so I'm curious which direction they go. That's my rant. I know you're pissed about it because we're already looking ahead, and Duke's like, they're just going to load up again. They'll probably get some stud in the transfer portal and all that. But, that's the reality of this program. And the fact that they haven't won a title, like you said, and like I said, that's what makes it even more frustrating. That's what makes it more unacceptable. The fact that we're even having this, and it's been 10 years without even a freaking title appearance.
Yeah, and I didn't even bring up the fact North Carolina's been there a bunch of times, like won
3 times.
All that stuff.
They haven't won it, though. I think they're 0-3.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that's the only thing. Hey, that's the only thing that Duke has going for them. It's like, well, we've been there 3 times. Yeah, but you have winning titles as us. You know what I mean? So
that's true. When Duke lands RJ Lewis in the portal and you text me and say I'm so back in, you're gonna have to do something for the people.
Dude, if they get RJ Lewis, And I lied. I lied because that's not. I lied. Carolina won in 2017. Yeah, so they're 1-2. That's what it is. So yeah, I mean, this is a disaster. Now I'm rattled. If they get RJ Lewis though, Tyson, boy, I don't know if I'm texting you because
look at the smile. Look at the smile.
Man of my word
across his face already.
The problem is, would he just be the next Tyrese Proctor where he can't score in the big game? You know what I mean? No, I'm playing. We love Tyrese. Great career at Duke. His tough ending, of course, is always tough. But hey, you got to look forward to next year. It's going to piss Tyson off. I can't wait to keep annoying him. But that's going to do it. We're putting college basketball in the books, man. It's great. We had a good stretch, a good close. That's kind of what we do. We jump in at the end here, kind of preview things going in. We're always watching all year, but mainly during the fall, we're a big football show. So if you're a big football fan as well, come join us in the summer into the fall because we're going to be talking a ton of college football. We got draft stuff coming up, all that good stuff. So that's why you got to stay subscribed. So don't miss a single thing. Smash the like button on the way out. Share it with a friend. Share it with enemy. You know the drill. But we got a ton of more content coming out for you that's different than what we've done in the past, starting with our Masters preview. Normally we react to what happened. We're going to give you an idea, try to make some cash-ola. And so go tune into that one, and we'll talk to you guys then. Peace.